No matter how strong you might think you are,
This is yours.
sometimes it's best just not to mess with people as a general rule of thumb. After all, you never know when you might come across someone that's been training their entire life to be one of the toughest and strongest humans living on the face of the earth. There are people out there who train to lift legendary amounts and turn their bodies into absolutely unbeatable machines. The type of people who astound and amaze with just a flex of their massive muscles. Think you can handle facing down some of the strongest people on the planet? Let's get it on! Brian Shaw. There are people that are big, and then there's Brian Shaw. At an absolutely towering 6'8" and 400 pounds, the strongman pushes the boundaries on what strength really means. I mean, you've got to be pushing the boundaries if you won the strongest man title 4 years in a row. Aside from his crazy ability to deadlift an entire squat rack, Brian has to make some serious squeezes to be able to fit in everyday society. If you think he looks imposing at the gym, here's how it looks when Brian gets on an airplane. In order to maintain his impressive physique, Brian eats almost 10,000 calories a day and sticks to an insanely rigorous workout routine that requires using the entire gym. Not just the standard dumbbells and barbells most people would struggle to complete a set with. I guess you could say he's really living large. Eddie Hall. Everything Eddie Hall does revolves around being the best. At the age of 13, he was one of the highest ranked swimmers in his age group in England. By 15, a nationally ranked varsity rugby player. And these days, he's all about surpassing his greatest opponent, himself. In 2017, Eddie won World's Strongest Man by setting the deadlift world record at an absolutely unbelievable 1,102 pounds. A feat so insane that even the legend himself, Arnold Schwarzenegger, was blown away by. Eddie currently strives to surpass his own record, eating between 5,000 and 10,000 calories a day and spending all his time training and preparing for strongman competitions. Any spare time that he does have goes to making videos for his incredibly popular YouTube channel and Instagram account, where people get a rare glimpse into the life of the literal strongest man on the planet. And I can see why. I mean, it isn't every day that you see what kind of breakfast it takes to fuel someone who can lift a car without breaking a sweat. Larry Wheels. Everyone loves a hero with a tragic backstory, and that's exactly what makes world record-setting powerlifter Larry Wheels the legend that he is today. Growing up severely impoverished, Larry's first purchase when he started working was a gym membership, and the first time he touched iron, he knew he had encountered his destiny. Larry has dedicated his life to achieving not just indomitable strength, but also the physique of a Greek god. Most people that can lift as much as him don't exactly have a shredded six-pack, but through rigorous training and dieting, Larry's able to have his cake and eat it too. Metaphorically, of course. This guy clearly doesn't eat cake. At a lean 275 pounds, Larry holds the world record for the highest powerlifting split in the world, a combined 2,275 pounds between his squat, bench, and deadlift. That's almost 10 times his weight. Scientists and strongmen alike are baffled by how he's able to have the best of both worlds in the gym, but Larry claims it's just hard work and an overwhelming passion for fitness that let him be the legend that he is today. Martin Likas. Most people's idea of working out usually involves dumbbells or machines, but Martin Likas can look at an everyday object and turn it into a workout. Originally inspired by strongmen he would watch on TV as a kid in Latvia, and without consistent access to a traditional gym, Martin began his strongman quest with the ancient practice of stone lifting, basically finding the biggest rock you can and trying to pick it up. At 16, he convinced his parents to let him move to the US to train with Odd Hughes, a strongman legend, and Martin's idol from a young age. Shockingly, Hughes saw the potential and drive in Martin and took him under his wing, training him to crush the competition through unorthodox workouts like picking up logs, stones, and, believe it or not, entire cars. Through this unorthodox training, Martin was able to attack any obstacle from all angles, while his opponents had trained with standard forms that left them rigid, and that edge was exactly what Martin needed to claim the title of World's Strongest Man in 2019. Ever since he first exploded onto the scene, he's been a real upset in the strongman world, inspiring the rest of the community to pursue the more unusual exercises that Martin's been mastering since he was just a boy. Bradley Martin. Who wants to lift boring old weights when you can get huge by benching girls in bikinis? I don't know what kind of gym you can find this equipment at, but Bradley Martin sure seems to like it there. The American bodybuilding influencer is one of the biggest in the fitness world, both figuratively and physically. But those muscles aren't just for showing off on Instagram. There's some insane strength behind them. Not only can Brad bench 500 pounds, he's also flexible enough to have dominated Ninja Warrior training the first time he ever tried it out, and able to crush a watermelon with his bare hands. Bradley's entire life revolves around being the biggest and strongest version of himself he can be, and his wild and, let's say, creative workouts regularly go viral, amassing him over 6 million followers between his Instagram and YouTube channel. But when you're replacing your weights with Instagram models, people are bound to pay attention, right? Jujimufu. Ever since he was a teenager, Jujimufu has been a bit of a standout character. While his buddies were hitting some bicep curls at the gym, he was spending months trying to master a split on his floor. Luckily for him, that intro to crazy flexibility really paid off, and he grew up to be an absolute beast who's built a career off of his superhuman flexibility. With the body of a champion strongman and the flexibility of an Olympic gymnast, videos of his absurd feats of strength and flexibility are often suspected of being faked, but believe me, Jujimufu is absolutely the real deal. He's been featured in Super Bowl commercials showing off his trademark overhead press while holding a split between chairs that seems to defy the laws of physics, and got some seriously shocking reactions when he took his act to America's Got Talent. His secret? While many people feel like working out is a chore, Juji sees it as a privilege to be able to train and absolutely loves pushing his body to the most impossible limits he can imagine. Half-pure Julius Bjornsson. With a name like Half-Thor, you should already expect this man to be something of a demigod. If you haven't heard of the Icelandic phenomenon, Half-Thor portrayed the Mountain in the HBO series Game of Thrones, and it's pretty obvious why they'd cast him for a character with that name. He's an absolute giant at 6'9" and 441 pounds of raw, unmitigated muscle. As of 2019, he can add strongest man alive to his already very impressive resume. He accomplished this feat by accomplishing a bar-bending deadlift of 1,042 pounds. In order to maintain his Norse godlike physique, Bjornsson takes in an unbelievable 10,000 calories a day, which is up to 13 pounds of food. When he isn't acting or training to be the literal strongest man on the planet, Half-Thor likes scenic walks through his native home of Iceland and posting pictures on his Instagram. It's nice to see that someone that fearsome has a softer, gentler side, but definitely don't let that confuse you. He's someone you wouldn't ever want to go toe-to-toe with. Zydrunas Savickas. Carrying the weight of your entire country on your back might sound like a lot of fun, but for strongman Zydrunas Savickas, it's just another day at the gym. The Lithuanian man was essentially born for the extreme sport, beginning his foray into powerlifting at the young age of 16, and it wasn't long before he became Lithuania's first man to join the 1,000 kilo club, meaning he could lift more than a metric ton between his squat, deadlift, and bench press. In 2016, he absolutely crushed it at the Arnold Strongman competition and secured himself a picture with the Terminator himself, who admittedly looks pretty small next to the Eastern European giant. However, during that same competition, it became clear that Zydrunas was suffering from a pinched nerve, the recovery from which caused him to lose over 80% of the strength in the left side of his body. While most people would think this was the end of their careers and be glad to have ended on a high note, Zydrunas was not planning on stopping anytime soon, and as soon as it was safe, he set out working out in a totally different but equally intense way, radically changing his body's shape to be leaner, pursuing bodybuilding over powerlifting. Clearly, it takes more than raw power to compete on this incredibly determined man's level. Robert Oberst. While some superheroes got their powers through some freak accident in their lives, some of them are born powerful, and Robert Oberst falls into the latter category. The California native actually came from a pretty surprising background for a strongman. In high school, he would compete in swing dancing competitions until a 7-inch growth spurt put a damper on that dream, but propelled him into a football scholarship as an offensive lineman. His innate raw strength made him a truly terrifying opponent on the field, and eventually led him to trying out powerlifting. While visiting a gym with a friend one day, Robert casually tried his hand at log lifting and set the amateur world record for the first time he ever put his hands on a log without even knowing it. From that moment on, he became determined to become the strongest man to ever walk the earth. Today, Robert is a fully fledged beast in the world of strongmen, holding the American log lifting record at 465 pounds and being able to squat or deadlift more than double that amount without breaking a sweat. Mateusz Kieliszkowski. Cars obviously aren't meant to be driven like they are in the Flintstones, but apparently nobody told Matsuz that. This massive powerlifter clearly wasn't satisfied with lifting regular old weights or just doing push-ups, and decided to pursue being a superhuman by being crazy enough to try lifting cars. And luckily for him, there's an entire competition for that. In this truly superhuman moment during the Europe's Strongest Man competition, Matthews carried a 1,000-pound Volkswagen Beetle an entire 20 meters in exactly 10 seconds, setting a new world record while channeling his inner Fred Flintstone. He'd definitely be a good friend to have if you had a flat tire and no jack. Psst, hey, you still there? Well, since you made it this far, here are all the shoutouts we promised everyone that commented on our previous video. If you want to be shouted out in our next upcoming video as well as the ones prior, just make sure you're subscribed to the channel and leave a comment down below saying, "Pick me." Once you're at it, you might as well leave a like too.